I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Just watching the world pass you by. Think as long as you ain't drowning, everything's all right.
New York City.
If I had me $1 million, I'd give me a Porsche 959.
Well, who cares? Because you ain't never gonna have $1 million anyway.
One family.
How's she looking? She's still looking good, right?
I don't know, she my sister.
I know she's your sister, boy. I'm your father.
And a boy.
You get bigger, you gonna be the man.
Who's about to learn that survival means saying nothing.
That's right. Go tell somebody you saw something.
And the only way out
If there's anything missing, I'll kill you later.
is to risk everything.
Playing each piece like losing it hurts. You want my king. You got to come get my king. All these other pieces are just a means to do it.
You're going to be my main man.
Listen, Michael, next time it's gonna be you laying in that street.
Better not be mixing none of these up little homie, you understand me?
It's straight up. That's the bad word.
He's lying.
I'm gonna ice you right now.
You always trying to scare me, but I ain't scared of you no more.
That's just life's little game, ain't it?
I'ma drop him, man. I'ma go drop him.
Samuel L. Jackson, Giancarlo Esposito, Nabushe Wright, and introducing Shawn Nelson.
You ready for the real thing? You ready to come get it? You ready to be the king?
Fresh.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review, and this is another PayPal request for Vaughn Davis, who wanted my thoughts on the 1994 film Fresh. First, I want to thank him for joining my, for sending me the PayPal request, and for, it was very cool of him to do. It's very cool for anyone to do that. I appreciate that. If anyone's ever interested in sending a request via PayPal for pretty much any type of video, review, or what have you, the link to my PayPal is down below. Or if you're interested in joining my Patreon, which is certain tiers for certain things, feel free to do that as well. If not, no worries. But like I said, one of the reviews he wanted me to do today is Fresh from 1994. Now, the story of the film, you have this 12-year-old kid. This kid did a really good job, Shawn Nelson, which I looked him up, and doesn't seem like he went on to do much, sad to say, but he was really good in this. Like I said, Michael, nicknamed Fresh, 12-year-old kid. He runs drugs for gangsters. Mainly for this guy played by Giancarlo Esposito, which the thing I remember Giancarlo Esposito for, which he's done a lot of other stuff, but he was the video game player in Maximum Overdrive. That's what I remember him from, and he gets electrocuted. Oh, so even though he's done a ton of other movies, the one thing I keep going back to is this scene in Maximum Overdrive as video game arcade player. But yeah, Shawn Nelson, sadly, he didn't do a whole lot that I mean, he was an American Buffalo. He was a bit part in a film called The Wood. He's in the 2010 film Stateland. He did TV work. So I guess he did stuff, but nothing ever as big as this one, which was his first film. And it was also the first film of Boaz Yakin, who would go on to direct Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. He will also direct Safe with Jason Statham, which I know some of my friends are not fans of, but I enjoy the film. This one is not really an action film at all. It's more of a... It says thriller, a little bit crime, in the vein of Boys in the Hood, in the vein of Menace to Society, but from the eyes of a little kid. And what made this very interesting to me is the second half of the film. The first half was good too, but the second half, because this kid, first of all, the stuff this kid has to go through, and for the most part he has to be very straightforward because of how tough everything around him is. I mean, he lives in a place with a bunch of brothers and sisters, so you have no privacy or anything. Again, he's running drugs for people. He has his buddy who's always pretty much his age and is always shooting his mouth off, ready to get people into trouble, running drugs like crack among other stuff. And this kid had just a certain seriousness, in a way a certain sadness, but it was never overbearing. And I thought that really was a big, strong point of this movie, was this kid's performance. And then Samuel Jackson, which he was also in Men's Society and like 85 other movies around the same time, he is the kid's father, but they're not together, and Sam Jackson's kid like lives in a trailer, little dinky trailer, and he goes out and plays chess. He's a very, very good at being a chess player. And from time to time, the kid goes to see his father to be taught chess, and most of the time it's just Sam Jackson talking down to him, don't do this, don't do that. But also, trying to teach him lessons about chess, which he will go on to, how do I put it? He will go on to take these things and utilize them for the second half of the movie, which that's kind of what I thought was very interesting in this motion picture. Because considering it's about a little kid that's about 12 years old, some of the circumstances that happen was a bit surprising, but never too over the top. And it may star a kid, but the movie doesn't dumb itself down or lessen itself because it stars a kid. Let me put it that way. I mean, the very beginning of the film, a dime bag is light, and she's talking sweet to the kid. Oh, you want some cookies, things of that nature. And the kid's like, hey, my boss don't be mad. And then she conveniently finds the bag that she's been hiding. Or one guy's talking shit about his sister, and the kid goes, come on, fuck me up, bitch. And this kid definitely has a certain, I would say, a fucking boulder on his shoulders with the amount of pressure this kid goes under. But he's always like has to keep his cool because of everything around him. And this is a kid that will go off and just relax, eating his chocolate bar, looking at the city. Lawrence Bender, who worked with Tarantino quite a bit, he produced this. He even has a bit role as one of the guys that Fresh, this kid, Shawn Nelson, sells his drugs to. And I just want to keep really honing on Shawn Nelson's performance and the lead. He did a wonderful job in this. And again, because you have a kid in the lead, he could come off as annoying or irritating or dry or wooden, and not the case in this at all. At all. His sister, who's addicted to drugs, is played by N. Bush Wright. I believe, she played the doctor, one of the leads in Blade with Wesley Snipes, and she's in this. you get some pretty... I don't know if I want to give this away. Maybe in the spoilers, but I'll say stuff happens and more stuff happens, and then this kid has to use his mind that's been trained in chess because of the lessons by his father to work all these pieces around, like chess pieces on a board, in order to get to the final outcome. I thought it was done believable enough that I didn't call bullshit on it. But it was done in a way that I still understood what was going on, so it wasn't confusing. And just how he's able to play people off of each other in the second half of the movie, and certain things he has. There's one thing I was confused by that I don't think you needed it. There's one thing. But overall, yeah, I thought it was an interesting enough story. Very competently directed by Boaz Yakin in his first film. The actors did their jobs well, especially the kid. I thought that, again, the way he plays off of people and sets things up was interesting to see what would happen next. The music by Stewart Copeland, I'm not so sure about the music. The music just, it seems like it doesn't fit the film. It seems like a score that would be put into a different movie. And I like Stewart Copeland. He did the score to the first Power, Lou Diamond Phillips, which I love. But this score doesn't sound anything like that score. This score... it sounds like the score for a film that took place in the Midwest. If that makes sense. I don't know if this score just fit. It just doesn't really fit for this kind of flick. At least that's me. I'm like, I don't know about this. But I do recommend it. I think it was a very welcome surprise. Because I had heard the film, but I never got around to seeing it. But it was... I like the idea of this kid having to deal with... Imagine a Boys to the Hood, Men's Society film, but it starred a little kid. And then, again... the Samuel L. Jackson's character is a bit interesting, where he's an alcoholic, but he's this speed chess master. And again, just the way, I like the way that this, I thought it was a good story. I thought it was told fairly well. Because Boaz Yakin also wrote the film, as well as directing it. Getting more and more into spoilers starting now. You know, throughout the film, he's saving up money here and there. I was mentioning how, you know, certain things that happens you don't expect in a film that stars a kid. Like this one woman offers this 12-year-old kid sex because she's desperate for drugs, and the kid like, no, I'm not going to do that. Of course, in reality, the kid would be like, oh yes, but even then, you look at the lady and how desperate she is for drugs. Maybe in reality, you would take a step back. You're like, maybe not. Maybe he sends her away. His buddy who keeps always spouting stuff. There's a fun little scene where they're talking about superheroes, and the kid's like, the Punisher would kill everybody, blah, blah, blah. But another scene that I did not expect, there's this girl that Fresh maybe has a fondness for. And it's on a playground. And during the playground, this little kid is beating the shit out of this older gentleman. This bigger guy. Beats him in basketball. The guy leaves, comes back, and fucking shoots the kid. And the bullet passed through him and hit the girl that Fresh liked. And you may be wondering, well, wait a minute, how come this character doesn't cry? Well, they're doing that for a reason. For the very end of the film, which I thought was a very, very effective, powerful way. The only thing that hurts that scene a little bit is the music. That's what I mean. If you got a really great musical choice or musical motif or score, that scene would have been even more powerful. As it is, it's powerful because of what happens, but the score, I thought, let it down a little bit. Again, I would say the weakest part of the movie is the score by Stewart Copeland. Because I'm like, oh, really? This music? Really? But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect the guy that killed this little kid over basketball, but, you know, That stuff did happen. And there's some good pieces of dialogue with Sam Jackson when he's teaching his kid. This ain't checkers. Listen, you want this? Okay, this chess. You want my teen? You gotta come dip my teen. All these other pieces, they're there to do it. Your queen, just a pawn with a lot of fancy moves, nothing more. And these lessons is what the kid will use in the second half, where his buddy also gets his buddy has a dog, gets into dog fights. And the lead guy's like, no, don't do that anymore. Don't do that with your dog anymore. Fine, I'll get you to work with the guy I'm working with. But his pal starts being a loudmouth and an idiot. But at least the lead kid calls him on it. Calls him. I appreciated that. Like, his buddy's being a moron, spouting that he's working with his drug dealer. And at least the lead kid does call him an idiot. Like, you don't even know. You're so stupid you don't know how to tie your own shoelaces. And of course people arrive. His pal stupidly shoots, even though Fresh told him, just fucking leave. No matter what, if anything happens, just fucking leave. No, his pal thinks he's the Punisher, thinks he's a badass, and then fucking gets his hand caught, trapped under a car, and gets killed. And they don't show it. They didn't need to be shown, but you get enough of it that it's still effective. So I thought it was handled fairly well. The one bit I didn't understand is the dog that was used for the dog fights. Fresh hangs it and then shoots it. I could see someone going, well, because it's only fate since its owner was dead, it was going to be used in constant dog fights because it was a winner. And that'd be a horrible way to die in dog fights. So best to just put him out of his misery. But at the same time, the dog is kind to him. I think that could have been more effective if the dog was always snarling. And that's how far the dog was gone, that it was always snarling. And you can't do anything. Will try to bite you. Like, you can't do anything else. And then you put out of his misery. Maybe that would have been more effective. But consider the dog's very nice and being kind of, like, I don't know. Maybe I get what they were going for, but I think it could have been done a lot better. Like, that's one part of the script I thought they was the weak part. I'll put it that way. Or you didn't really need that part of the film. Like, that could easily be cut out. And you just say, oh, the dog, you went somewhere else. And no one would have really thought of it. So again, if I have two complaints of the film, it's the score by Stewart Copeland and that one scene. With that said, I do like the second half of the film where he's utilizing what his dad taught him. So he's moving these people around. So he gets the money to buy one drugs, and then he has these other drugs, and then he goes to this supplier that he doesn't usually goes to, and he says, oh, by the way, I taught this guy, he's got phone taps on your phone, so you know what, if he calls you, you know, yeah, be quick about it. And then, oh yeah, you know what, even though I'm going to spoilers, I'm not going to go through every single detail. I just thought the way he utilized people, played each other to become more paranoid, or to lead from one place to another, I thought was done pretty damn well. That to me is one of the stronger parts of the script. So yeah, I like the concept of the film, of this lead kid, of this young kid being the star and going through these situations. How the film didn't dumb itself down because a kid starred in it, so you do have that bit in the playground. The one bit where the girl offers sex to this young kid for drugs. Which again, the kid says no to. His buddy, who's the same age as him, getting killed. So I thought the film was fairly ballsy, but I don't think went too over the edge. To a point of being like, really? Again, that one dog scene, one point maybe. But the other stuff, no. I thought it worked fairly well. And the way it ends, where Sam Jackson's putting him down once again about chess, and then finally sees his kid finally crying. I thought that was a very effective way to end it, because finally, after he succeeded, him and his sister are going to get out of there. Maybe this is one of the last times he's going to play with his dad. All the stuff that has been going on with him, he's finally letting it out. And it's not an over-the-top, they don't do that. It's just tears. And the kid, Shawn Nelson, he should have got more notices for this role. Because just the tears just pouring down. And then just, again, but he's just staring. And then Sam Jackson's reaction. Like, he's trying to ignore it, but then he can't. And he kind of like puts his head down. And who knows what happens after. Maybe he'll finally listen to his kid. Maybe the kid will tell what happened. I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe that's not the point. It's like, finally this kid, why was he not crying through all this? For the movie to, now this is the time to do it. And again, the score hurts it a little bit, but it's still a very effective ending. So yeah, great cast, wonderful performance by the lead kid, fairly ballsy for what he was doing, considering a good chunk of the cast are children. The second half, the way the kids look at it like a chess game, I thought that was an interesting way of doing that. I thought, for the most part, it was a fairly well-written script. And pretty underrated movie, because no one talks about this film. Like, no one ever brings this film up. No one. Ever. You never hear this film. People bring up Boys in the Hood or even Menace to Society. No one ever brings up Fresh. I doubt this film even has a Blu-ray or any of that sort. That'd be interesting to ask Sam Jackson. I'd have, like, when was the last time someone asked you about Fresh? It's like, no one. And this film did not do well. Like, the other films I mentioned did well. This film, I mean, technically it cost $3 million, I guess, and it made $8 million. But then you gotta think that a good chunk of that goes to the movie theaters, because they take a percentage. And then what was the marketing behind it? Like, what was the marketing behind it? What was the, again, movie theaters do take a percentage of that. The studio doesn't get the whole 100%. Roger Ebert really liked it. He gave it 4 out of 4 stars. Found the plot focused and perceptive. A movie filled with drama and excitement, unfolding a plot of brilliant complexity. So Roger Ebert really, really enjoyed it. And I'm just curious, what does it have on IMDb? I'm just curious about it. This Boaz Yakin also did A Price Above Rubies, Remember the Titans, Uptown Girls, Death and Love, Safe, Max, and Boarding School. Boarding School, that's a 7.6, so apparently I'm not the only one who liked the film. 7.6 IMDb, that's pretty damn high. And you know what, it deserves it. Despite my nitpicks, I'm fine with that rating. It's a very well done movie. And people who saw it obviously liked it, but yeah, it deserves a bit more to be spoken about, if that's the best way to put it. But either way, thanks for watching. Take care. Thank you once again, Vaughn Davis. If anyone's ever interested in sending requests via my PayPal or Patreon, the links to both are down below. Thank you, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.